Close your eyes for a moment, or don't. Maybe you're already lying in the dark, the house finally quiet, the day finally over. Maybe there's the soft sound of breathing beside you, someone who has slept next to you for years. And yet somehow, in this moment, you feel utterly, completely alone. That feeling, you know it, don't you? Not the dramatic loneliness of someone abandoned, not the sharp, crying loneliness of heartbreak. This is something quieter, something that arrives in the ordinary moments, at the dinner table, during a Saturday afternoon, in the middle of being held. It's the loneliness of a woman who forgot herself. I want you to think about her, the woman you were at 32, or 28, or before the children, before the mortgage, before the years started to blur together in that soft, relentless way that only time can blur things. Do you remember how she moved through a room? Do you remember what she wanted, not what she needed, not what was responsible, not what was practical, but what she wanted in the raw, alive, cellular sense of that word? Do you remember the last time desire felt like yours? There is a woman I want to tell you about tonight. Her name, for our purposes, is Margaret. She is 51 years old. She has been married for 23 years to a man she genuinely loves. Not the explosive love of movies, but the real kind. The kind that has survived illness and financial crisis and the quiet grief of a miscarriage nobody really talks about anymore. Margaret is a good woman. She is, by every external measure, living a good life. And yet, she cannot remember the last time she wanted sex, not just with her husband, with anyone, with herself. She cannot remember the last time desire moved through her like weather, unpredictable and inevitable and impossible to ignore. She is not depressed, she is not broken, she is not cold, she is tired. And she has been tired for so long that she has started to confuse exhaustion with identity. This is not unusual. This is, in fact, one of the most common and least spoken truths of long-term marriage. Desire disappears quietly. It doesn't leave in a dramatic exit. It doesn't announce itself. It simply stops showing up. And one day you realize you haven't noticed its absence in weeks, months, sometimes years, and then the guilt comes. Because you love him, or you used to, or you think you do, or you're no longer sure what love even means after 2 decades of shared grocery lists and arguments about the thermostat. Chapter 2. What they don't tell you about marriage. Nobody warns you, when you're standing in that dress, that love is not the same as desire. That you can love someone completely and not want them sexually. That familiarity, the very thing that makes a marriage safe, is also one of the greatest challenges to erotic energy. Novelty ignites desire. Certainty soothes the nervous system. And the nervous system and desire do not always want the same thing. Think about the early days, the uncertainty, the not knowing, the electric charge of a text message, the way time moved differently when you were waiting to see him, the way your skin felt different when he was near. That electricity was real. It was not fake. It was your body's intelligence responding to an experience of aliveness, to possibility, to risk, to the primal thrill of wanting and being wanted. And then you built a life together, and the life was beautiful, and the life was also safe, predictable, known, and somewhere in the safety, the electricity found fewer places to spark. This is not a failure of love. This is not evidence that you chose wrong. This is biology. This is psychology. This is the deeply human tension between the need for security and the need for aliveness. Esther Perel, a therapist who has spent her career exploring erotic desire in long-term relationships, speaks of this paradox with extraordinary precision. She writes that we need security and adventure, closeness and mystery, togetherness and freedom. And in long-term partnership, we often choose one at the expense of the other. We choose the nest and we stop flying. But here is what I want you to really hear tonight. The desire that disappeared did not die. It went underground. It is still there, like seeds under winter soil, waiting for the right conditions to push back toward the light. And tonight, we are going to go looking for it together. Chapter 3, the body keeps the score of every year. Your body at 45 is not your body at 25. And I mean this not as a lament, I mean it as a revelation. Because in those 20 years, your body has carried extraordinary things. It has grown life or chosen not to. It has survived grief. It has held children through fevers at 3 in the morning. It has worked and worried and loved and endured. It has navigated hormonal landscapes that shift like continents, slowly, powerfully in ways that reshape everything. Perimenopause and menopause, the subject nobody raises at dinner parties, fundamentally alter a woman's relationship to her own desire. Estrogen, the hormone most associated with female sexual response, begins its long, uneven decline sometime in a woman's 40s. With it can come vaginal dryness that makes sex uncomfortable or even painful. A drop in testosterone. Yes, women have testosterone, and it matters enormously for libido, can make desire feel distant and theoretical, like something that belongs to another woman's life. Add to this the relentless depletion of cortisol from chronic stress, the way anxiety overrides arousal in the nervous system, the way being needed by everyone leaves a woman feeling incapable of receiving. And you begin to understand why desire goes quiet. It is not moral failure, it is physiology. But physiology is not destiny. Your body, your miraculous, wise, battered, beautiful body is still capable of pleasure, still capable of sensation, still capable of desire. It simply needs different conditions than it needed at 25. It needs more time to warm, it needs more safety, it needs your attention, not the distracted, half-present attention of a woman running through tomorrow's schedule while her husband reaches for her, but your full, curious, patient attention. It needs you to stop treating it like a machine that should perform on demand and start treating it like a living thing that needs tending. Here is what I want you to practice tonight before you sleep. Place one hand on your heart. Place one hand on your belly. Feel the warmth of your own hands. Breathe slowly, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And say, silently or aloud to this body that has carried so much, I am listening now. I am here. I am grateful for what you have carried. That's all, just that. This is the beginning. Part 2, the descent, understanding the silence. Chapter 4, when sex becomes an obligation. Let's talk about something nobody says out loud. There comes a moment in many marriages, maybe you've lived it, when sex stops being something you want and starts being something you do, like a chore, like something you schedule around and feel vaguely guilty about avoiding and occasionally perform with your body while your mind is somewhere else entirely. This is called duty sex, and it is one of the loneliest experiences a woman can have. Duty sex looks different for different women. For some, it's the resigned okay when he reaches for her on a Friday night, the internal calculation of, it's been 2 weeks. Maybe this will make him less resentful this week. And for others, it's lying in the dark afterward, feeling nothing, not bad exactly, just hollow, like something was taken without cruelty, but also without consent. And for others still, it's the slow accumulation of avoidance, the staying up too late on purpose, the manufacturing of headaches, the quiet strategy of appearing asleep when he comes to bed. If you recognize yourself in any of this, I want you to know something deeply important. You are not a bad wife. You are not a cold woman. You are a woman whose desire has been asking for something real, something honest, and has not been getting it. Desire is not a switch. You cannot will it on. Desire is a response to feeling seen, to feeling safe enough to be vulnerable, to feeling like more than a function in someone else's life. When those conditions aren't present, desire retreats. It is protecting you. Your body is wise, even when its wisdom inconveniences everyone. Chapter 5. The Invisible Load and the Erotic. Here is a truth that took researchers decades to articulate, but that every married woman with children already knows in her bones. It is extraordinarily difficult to desire someone you feel like you're parenting. The mental load, that invisible, unquantifiable labor of tracking appointments and school forms and grocery lists and who needs new shoes and when the car needs servicing, falls disproportionately on women, even in relationships where both partners work full-time. This is not a political statement, it is a documented reality. And what this invisible labor does to desire is precise and devastating. It keeps a woman's nervous system in a state of low-level management. It keeps her in executive function mode, planning, coordinating, anticipating, solving. And the brain state required for desire is fundamentally incompatible with management mode. Think of your brain as having different rooms. The management room is bright and organized and efficient. It is the room where you run the household, meet deadlines, care for everyone. The erotic room is darker, slower. It requires you to be in your body, not in your head. It requires receptivity, not control. It requires, most essentially, the capacity to receive pleasure, which is something that women in management mode have often forgotten how to do. And then there's the emotional labor. The labor of managing his feelings, making sure he doesn't feel neglected, making sure the relationship feels maintained, making sure everyone in the household is emotionally fed. This labor is also invisible, and it is also profoundly unsexy. You cannot fully desire someone you are also emotionally managing. These two things, the erotic and the maternal, live in fundamentally different energetic spaces. When women are asked to occupy both simultaneously, desire often steps back to make room for care. Chapter 6. What he doesn't understand and what you haven't said. Let us speak very gently about the other side of this. He doesn't understand. Many husbands, even good, loving, well-intentioned husbands, genuinely do not understand what has happened to their wife's desire. They feel it as rejection. They interpret the avoidance as indifference, maybe even as a verdict on their worth, their attractiveness, their adequacy as a man. And so they either push, which makes you retreat further, or they withdraw, which you feel as abandonment, which only deepens the distance. This is the painful feedback loop at the center of so many long-term marriages. For him, sex is often the pathway to emotional intimacy. It is how he connects, how he feels loved, how he feels close to you. When it disappears, he doesn't just miss the physical contact, he misses you. He misses the feeling of being chosen. For you, emotional intimacy is often the prerequisite for desire. You need to feel connected, seen, appreciated, respected before your body will open. He connects through sex. You need connection before sex. These two realities are not incompatible, but they require conversation, real conversation, not the surface-level negotiation of, can we talk about our sex life, that usually ends in defensiveness and silence. And that conversation starts with something you may not have said yet, something true, something that has been living in you, perhaps for years, waiting to be spoken. Not, I don't want you anymore. Not, something is wrong with me. But something closer to, I am exhausted in ways I don't have words for. I've been so busy taking care of everything and everyone that I have lost the thread back to my own desire. I miss her, the woman I was before I became so necessary. I want to find my way back to her. I want to find my way back to us. But I need something different than what we've been doing. That is a beginning. Bilal chapter 7. The stories we tell about ourselves. There are stories, quiet, insidious, whispered over decades, that women absorb about what it means to be a sexual being after 40. The story that desire is for younger women. The story that a good wife prioritizes her husband's needs. The story that wanting things for yourself, pleasure, adventure, aliveness, is selfish. The story that bodies like yours, changed by time and gravity and birth and loss, are no longer deserving of desire. These stories are lies. They are cultural lies, inherited from systems that have long benefited from women's self-erasure. And they have done extraordinary damage, because here is what is actually true. Women in their 40s and 50s are in many ways at the apex of their erotic potential. The research supports this. The anecdotal evidence is overwhelming. When the anxiety of youth gives way to self-knowledge, when the desperate need for approval loosens its grip, when a woman finally knows her own body well enough to ask for what she actually needs, that is an extraordinary erotic moment. The question is not whether desire is available to you. The question is whether you believe you deserve it. Tonight, I want you to gently examine one story you carry about yourself as a sexual being. Where did it come from? Is it yours? Is it true? You don't have to answer tonight. Just let the questions live in you. Questions are how things change. Part 3. The Turning, a revelation about desire. Chapter 8. The night Margaret made a discovery. Let me return to Margaret. It was a Thursday evening in November. The children were at college now, both of them, a fact that still startled her sometimes with its irreversibility. The house was quiet in a way it hadn't been for 20 years, and the quiet felt like both a gift and a confrontation. Her husband, David, was in the other room watching something on television. She had told him she was going to read. She had picked up a book and set it down 3 times. She sat at the edge of the bed in the half-dark, and she asked herself, very quietly, a question she had not allowed herself to ask in years. What do I want? Not what did David want? Not what the children needed, not what made sense or was responsible or was manageable within the constraints of her life. What did she, Margaret, as a woman with a body and a history and 51 years of accumulated longing, what did she want? And the first thing that came, before she could censor it, before the guilt arrived, was this. She wanted to be surprised. She wanted something unexpected, something that wasn't scheduled, something that moved through the ordinary Tuesdayness of her life like an electrical current and reminded her that she was still alive in all the ways that mattered. She didn't know what to do with that answer. So she wrote it down. In a notebook she had not opened in 3 years, and she wrote underneath it in the dark, I am still here. I have not gone anywhere. I am waiting for myself to come back. That was the beginning of Margaret's return. Not a dramatic one, not a movie one, not the kind that ends in passionate reconciliation or decisive separation. Just a quiet, radical turning. A woman choosing to stop pretending she had no desires and beginning to listen to the ones she had buried under obligation. The revelation is this: desire does not need to be given back to you by someone else. It needs to be reclaimed by you. Chapter 9. Sexual energy, what it actually is. I want to say something now that may feel unusual. Bear with me. Sexual energy is not only about sex. This is the central misunderstanding that has kept so many women disconnected from one of their most potent internal resources. In many ancient philosophical and spiritual traditions, from Taoist practices in China to tantric teachings in India to the work of Carl Jung in Western psychology, what we call sexual energy is understood as a fundamental life force. The Chinese call it Jing, the Indians call it prana, or Shakti. Jung called it libido, but in its broadest sense, not merely its sexual one. This energy is the force that makes you want to create, to connect, to move toward beauty, to feel alive. It is the energy behind every act of passion, artistic, intellectual, romantic, spiritual. When it goes dormant in the sexual realm, it does not disappear, but it does become less available everywhere. Creativity dims, curiosity flattens. The world starts to feel like something that is simply happening to you rather than something you are participating in. Science has something to say about this too. Sexual arousal, even in its subtle pre-sexual forms, is deeply connected to dopamine systems, to the brain's capacity for reward and motivation. To neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to grow and change. Research suggests that women who maintain an active relationship with their own desire, not necessarily through partnered sex, but through self-awareness, self-touch, sensual engagement with the world, show measurable differences in mood, vitality, and cognitive engagement. Desire is not frivolous. Desire is biological intelligence. And here is the cosmic dimension. Every great spiritual tradition has recognized that the force which creates life is the same force that creates art, that builds civilizations, that drives the human soul toward transcendence. When you close the door on your own desire, you are not simply being responsible. You are dimming something essential. You are turning down the volume on your own aliveness. Ida chapter 10, The Universe and the Body, a Spiritual Perspective. Let me speak now in a different register, one that is less clinical and more cosmic. There is a perspective held across many wisdom traditions that the universe itself is erotic. That creation, the expansion of stars, the unfurling of galaxies, the miraculous improbability of life itself, is an act of cosmic desire. The universe reaching toward complexity, toward consciousness, toward the extraordinary accident of a woman lying in the dark at night, asking herself what she wants. You are the universe desiring itself. Your longing is not separate from the longing that has driven creation since the beginning. It is an instance of it, a microcosm. Many women have told me, women in their 40s and 50s and 60s, that the most transformative spiritual experiences of their lives have come through the body, through sensation, through the radical act of being fully, unapologetically present in their own physical experience, not through transcending the body, through inhabiting it. Before you sleep tonight, I want you to consider this possibility. What if your desire, your body's longing, your deep hunger for aliveness is not a problem to be managed, but a message to be received? What if the universe is trying to reach you through your own wanting? What if reclaiming your desire is not self-indulgence, but a spiritual act? Let that possibility settle into you now, like water finding its level, like roots remembering the direction of soil. Part 4. The Return. Practical actions for reclaiming desire. From this point forward, we move from understanding to action. Everything we have explored in the first hours, the biology, the psychology, the spiritual dimensions, has been building toward this, because understanding without action is just beautiful sadness. And you deserve more than beautiful sadness. Chapter 11. The first action, the body inventory. The first practical action is deceptively simple. And it may be one of the most radical things you do this year. It is this: spend time with your body in a non-functional way. What does that mean? We relate to our bodies almost entirely instrumentally. We feed them so they can work. We sleep them so they can recover. We exercise them so they can be healthy. We groom them so they can be presentable. We move through the world in these bodies as though they are vehicles, and we, some essential self, are the driver. But desire lives in the body, not above it. And if you have been treating your body as a vehicle, you have been driving with the radio off. The body inventory practice set aside 20 minutes. 30 is better. Do this when the house is quiet, early morning, or at night after everyone is settled. Turn the lights low or use a candle. Put on music that feels slow and spacious, something without lyrics if possible. Begin lying on your back, fully clothed or with a robe. Close your eyes. Start at the top of your head. Feel the weight of your skull against the pillow or floor. Feel the temperature of the air on your face. Move your attention slowly, very slowly, down through your body, your forehead, your temples, your jaw. Notice if you are holding tension there. Most of us are. We clench our jaws through the day and never notice. Your throat, your neck. What are you not saying? The throat holds unexpressed words like a physical weight. Your shoulders, your chest, your heart. Place your hand here and feel your heartbeat. This astonishing, unasked-for drumbeat that has kept you alive every second of your life without you asking it to. Your belly, your hips, your pelvis. This is the area most women have abandoned. The area most associated with shame, with disappointment, with the complicated history of womanhood, in a world that has had complicated ideas about women's bodies. Breathe into this space. Just breathe. You don't have to do anything else. Just send your breath down into the bowl of your pelvis like you're filling a cup. Your thighs, your knees, your calves, your feet. When you have traveled the full length of your body, come back up slowly and ask yourself, without agenda, without judgment, where do I feel sensation? Where do I feel numb? Where does my attention want to go? This is information, not a diagnosis, not a verdict, information. Do this practice 3 times in the next week. Just 3 times. You do not need to feel anything dramatic. You do not need a revelation. You simply need to begin the practice of inhabiting yourself again. The body responds to attention. It has been waiting for yours. Chapter 12. The second action, the desire map. The second action requires a journal. If you don't have one, a folded piece of paper hidden somewhere private will do. This is for you alone. Answer these questions. Take as much time as you need. There are no correct answers. There is only what is true for you. Question 1. When did you last feel genuinely, physically alive? Not performing aliveness, not going through the motions of living, but actually, in your body, in the present moment, alive. What were you doing? Where were you? What was happening in your body? Question 2. What are you hungry for? Not food, not in the literal sense. What is the deeper hunger, touch, to be witnessed, freedom, adventure, rest that is actually restful, beauty, something you've never admitted to yourself before? Question 3. What have you been pretending not to want? This is the important one. There are things we perform not wanting because wanting them feels dangerous, inconvenient, selfish, or simply too painful if they remain out of reach. What is yours? Question 4. If desire returned to your body, what would you do first? Don't answer what's responsible. Don't answer what's realistic. Answer what is true. This is your desire map. It is a map not of where you are, but of where you have always wanted to go. It is a document of the self you have been deferring. You don't have to act on it immediately. You don't have to share it with anyone. Just write it. Giving language to desire is itself an act of power. Chapter 13. The third action, sensory reclamation. Desire is a sensory experience before it is a sexual one. And in the relentlessness of daily life, many women have become numb to their senses, moving through the world without tasting it, touching it, smelling it, seeing it. Sensory reclamation means deliberately choosing, once a day, to experience one thing with your full sensory presence. This week, choose one of the following: the slow shower. Instead of the efficient morning shower, the shower you take while planning the day, take one slow shower this week. Not longer necessarily, but slower. Feel the temperature of the water on your skin. Notice where it falls first and where it reaches last. Use whatever soap you have, but smell it. Really smell it. Let the water run down your face and actually feel that, rather than experiencing it as something happening to you while you think about something else. When you dry off, feel the texture of the towel. Feel the temperature of the air. You are a body. You are here. The taste meditation. Take one piece of food, a square of dark chocolate, a ripe piece of fruit, whatever you have, and eat it with your entire attention. Smell it before you eat it. Let it rest on your tongue before you chew. Notice the texture, the temperature, the way the flavor changes and develops. Notice when you want more. Notice the pleasure. Let yourself have the pleasure without qualifying it. The touch exchange. Ask someone, your husband, a trusted friend, or even just yourself, to spend 5 minutes giving you a hand or foot massage. If asking feels too vulnerable, start with yourself. Take lotion and spend 5 minutes on your own hands. Not efficiently, slowly, feeling each finger, each knuckle, the webbing between your fingers, the strange miracle of your palms. This is not indulgent, this is practice. Practice in receiving, practice in sensation, practice in being in your body. Sensation is the language of the erotic. You are learning to speak it again. Chapter 14, the fourth action, the conversation. You haven't had. This is the hardest action. I want to be honest about that. You need to talk to your husband, not a performance conversation. Not a careful, strategic communication designed to manage his reaction, a real one. Here is how to prepare for it. Step 1. Know what you're trying to say before you say it. Use your journal to write down, plainly, not dramatically, what is true for you right now. What has been happening with your desire, what you need that you haven't been getting, what you want the relationship to become. This is not an accusation document, it is a truth document. Step 2. Choose the right moment, not during an argument, not immediately before bed when defenses are high and energy is low, not when either of you is distracted, hungry, or carrying stress from the day. Find a calm Sunday morning, a quiet walk, a moment when you are both improbably present. Step 3. Begin with love, not complaint. The instinct, when we finally speak something difficult, is to lead with the grievance. But the grievance comes from love. Start there. Something like, I love you, and I want to be honest with you about something that has been difficult for me, because I want us to be close. I don't want to keep pretending everything is fine when I know it could be better. Step 4. Be specific about what you need, not just what's wrong. I need more time to transition from my day before I can feel connected to you. I need to feel more like a partner and less like another thing being managed. I need more of what we had when we first met. More spontaneity, more play. I need you to know that my not wanting sex is not a rejection of you. It's something I'm working through about myself. Step 5. Make space for his reality. Ask him, with genuine curiosity, not as a trap, what has this been like for you? And then listen. Really listen. His reality is not your enemy. It is half of the picture. This conversation may not go perfectly. It may need to happen more than once. But it is necessary. The desire you are reclaiming will have nowhere to go in a relationship that cannot hold honest truth. Chapter 15. The fifth action. Reclaiming your erotic imagination. The erotic imagination is one of the most powerful and most neglected resources a woman has. By erotic imagination, I do not mean fantasy in the narrow, pornographic sense. I mean the capacity to be imaginatively alive to desire, to what moves you, what interests you, what stirs something in you. Many women have let this capacity atrophy. It feels frivolous, it feels dangerous, it feels like territory that doesn't belong to responsible middle-aged women with mortgages and responsibilities. This is the story, and the story is wrong. Your erotic imagination is a wilderness that needs to be walked regularly, not in shame, but in the same spirit of curiosity with which you might explore any other inner landscape. Practical exercise, the fantasy permission slip. Write yourself a permission slip. It can be private, secret, immediately destroyed if you prefer, but write it. Something like, I, your name, give myself full permission to imagine whatever I want. My imagination is not my behavior. My fantasies are not my character. They are the landscape of my desire, and I am allowed to walk there freely and without judgment. And then walk there. Read something that moves you. Not something pornographic if that doesn't appeal, but something that stirs something. A novel with a character whose desire you recognize. An essay about passion. A poem that speaks the language of the body. Notice what stirs. Notice without judging what stirs. Simply witness your own desire with curiosity. Research consistently shows that women's desire responds strongly to psychological engagement, to story, to context, to imagination. Unlike men, whose desire is often more visually and physically triggered, women frequently need the narrative to come first. The imagination to be engaged before the body will follow. Feed your imagination. It is not separate from your desire. It is its prerequisite. Chapter 16. The sixth action. Creating conditions for reconnection. This action is for the relationship. It is about creating new conditions within the marriage. Conditions in which desire has a fighting chance. Because desire doesn't spontaneously regenerate in relationships that have not changed. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Create a weekly no agenda hour. 1 hour per week. No phones, no problem solving, no logistics, no discussing the children, the finances, the schedule. 1 hour where you and your husband simply exist together without function. You might lie on the couch, you might take a walk, you might sit in the backyard in the dark. The only rule is no agenda. This hour is for the relationship to remember that it exists beyond its usefulness. Reintroduce non-sexual touch. One of the paradoxes of long-term relationships where sex has become fraught is that all touch becomes loaded. He reaches for her hand and she wonders if it's heading somewhere. She pulls back and he feels rejected. The result is that touch disappears almost entirely, and with it, one of the primary pathways of human connection. Make an agreement, explicitly if you can. Let's touch each other without it having to lead anywhere. Hold hands during a movie. Sit close enough that your shoulders touch. Let him put his arm around you without it being a prelude. Rebuild touch as a language of closeness before it needs to be a language of sex. Do something new together. Novelty, genuine novelty, is one of the most reliable catalysts for desire in long-term relationships. Not manufactured novelty, but real new experience. Travel somewhere you've never been, even if it's an hour away. Try a class together. Eat at a restaurant that feels slightly outside your comfort zone. Take a dance lesson. Whatever new means to you, go there together. Novelty reactivates the dopamine system. Dopamine is deeply involved in desire. This is not metaphor, it is neuroscience. Express appreciation specifically, not "you're great" or "I love you," though those matter. Specific appreciation. I noticed how patient you were with your mother on the phone today. I love that about you. You made me feel safe last week when I was anxious about the doctor appointment. I don't know if you realized that, but I did. Feeling genuinely seen in the small, specific, ordinary moments is one of the most powerful aphrodisiacs available to a long-term couple. It is free. It costs nothing but attention. Under Chapter 17, the seventh action, your pleasure practice. The seventh action is the most private and perhaps the most important. It is simply this: develop a solo pleasure practice. For many women, particularly women raised in religious or culturally conservative contexts, this will feel uncomfortable to even hear. I want to address that discomfort directly and honestly. Self-pleasure, the practice of exploring your own body with the intention of experiencing sensation and pleasure, is not shameful. It is not a betrayal of your marriage. It is not a substitute for your husband. It is a practice of self-knowledge that every therapist, every sexual health practitioner, and almost every piece of credible research on women's sexuality supports. The research is unambiguous. Women who understand their own bodies and their own patterns of arousal have better sexual experiences with partners. They are better able to communicate what they need. They are less dependent on a partner's ability to intuit what works for them. They are more connected to their own desire because they have practiced being connected to their own desire. But beyond the relational benefits, there is a more fundamental argument. Your body is yours. Your pleasure is yours, not as something dispensed by a partner, not as something earned through service, not as something that requires permission. Yours. Begin simply. Carve out 20 minutes when you have privacy and you are not exhausted. Not the end of the day, if possible, but perhaps an early morning or an afternoon. Light a candle if that helps you transition. Put on music. Begin with the body inventory practice from Chapter 11, and then simply explore with curiosity, without agenda, without the pressure to arrive anywhere. Notice what creates sensation. Notice where you feel alive. Notice what arises. Let your imagination go where it goes. This is medicine. This is not indulgence. Part 5. The integration, living in a body you love. Chapter 18. What healing actually looks like. I want to be honest with you about something. Healing, real healing, not the Instagram version, is not a dramatic before and after. It is not a sudden return of passion and certainty and the rekindling of everything that was lost. Real healing is slow. It is incremental. It is marked by small moments that are easy to dismiss. The first morning you wake up and feel something that might generously be called interest in the day ahead. The first time you reach for your husband's hand because you actually want to, not because it seems like the right thing to do. The first bath you take that feels like a gift rather than an efficient hygiene event. Healing looks like this. It looks like Margaret at 51, still in the same marriage, but sitting differently in it. Still negotiating the same invisible loads, but with more willingness to speak when they become too heavy. Still navigating her body's hormonal changes, but with a new tenderness toward her own biology rather than irritation at its inconveniences. It looks like on an ordinary Thursday, her husband reaching for her hand during a television show and her actually feeling his hand, feeling it, not just tolerating it, and thinking, oh, there you are, I remember you. That is not a movie ending, but it is a real one, and real endings are worth more. Beam. Chapter 19. The practice of erotic presence. Beyond all the actions, all the practices, all the conversations, there is one foundational quality that determines whether desire has a home in your life, and that quality is presence. Erotic presence is the capacity to be fully here, in this body, in this moment, in this breath, without the noise of past grievances or future anxieties drowning out the present experience. This is extraordinarily difficult for women who have been in management mode for years. The mind wanders, it plans, it evaluates, it worries, and desire, genuine desire, not performed desire, cannot be experienced from a distance. Here is a practice for erotic presence. It takes 3 minutes. It can be done anywhere. The three-door arrival, before any potentially intimate moment, before your husband comes to bed, before a solo pleasure session, before any experience you want to actually inhabit rather than merely endure. Door 1. Name 5 things you can see, not analyze. See, just look. The lamp, the shape of light on the ceiling, the texture of the sheets. You are not evaluating, you are simply looking. Door 2. Name 5 things you can feel physically. The weight of your body on the mattress, the temperature of the air, the texture of your own skin, the feeling of your breath moving in and out of your chest. You are arriving in the body. Door 3. Name 1 thing you are grateful for. About this moment, about this body, about this life. Just 1. Gratitude is the fastest known pathway from the anxious mind to the present heart. You have arrived. You are here. You are inhabitable. Now whatever happens, happens in the present. Chapter 20, Aging, Desire, and the Second Spring. In Chinese medicine and philosophy, there is a concept, beautiful in its counterintuitiveness, called the second spring. It refers to the time following menopause, the time when the years of fertility and its hormonal volatility have passed, and a woman enters a new phase, one associated not with decline, but with the emergence of a different, deeper kind of power. The second spring is said to be a time of liberation, when the energy that was directed outward toward reproduction, toward children, toward the making and sustaining of family, turns inward and then radiates back out as wisdom, as creative fire, as the particular authority that belongs only to a woman who has lived. There is research that supports a version of this. Studies on postmenopausal women show that, in the absence of untreated pain or dysfunction, many women report improvements in their relationship to their own desire after menopause. The anxiety of pregnancy, the unpredictability of the menstrual cycle, the hormonal volatility of the fertile years. All of this resolves. What remains for many women is something simpler, something more honest, a body that knows what it wants and is no longer embarrassed to want it. Your age is not your obstacle. Your age may in fact be one of your greatest assets, if you are willing to stop mourning the body you had and start inhabiting the body you have. Chapter 21. A letter to your younger self. I want to invite you into a different kind of practice now, one that is not about the body, but about the story. Think about the woman you were when desire first arrived in your life. Not necessarily when you first had sex, but when you first felt that electric, alive, reaching toward quality that is the beginning of desire. When you first felt it fully, before it was complicated. How old were you? Where were you? What were you wearing? What were you afraid of? What were you hoping for? Write her a letter, or lying in the dark tonight, speak to her silently. Tell her what you know now that she didn't know then. Tell her that the desire she carries is not dangerous. It is her compass. Tell her that the body she lives in, the one she's probably trying to hide or fix or apologize for, is going to carry her through more than she can imagine. Tell her that the longing she feels is not weakness. It is aliveness. And tell her it comes back, even when it goes away. And it will, at times, it comes back. Because you are the kind of woman who knows how to find her way home. And then, gently, tenderly, let that younger woman tell you something back. She remembers things you have forgotten. Let her remind you. Part 6. The Night Teaching. For the Subconscious Mind. You are becoming tired now, and that is exactly right. The body knows when it is time to surrender to sleep, and sleep is not a defeat. It is the most profound healing available to you. What follows is designed for that liminal space between waking and sleeping, For the subconscious mind, which is always listening, always absorbing, always reweaving the story of who you are. Chapter 22. Affirmations for the subconscious. Let these words find you wherever you are. Awake or drifting, conscious or already traveling toward the dream world. You do not have to believe them yet, you simply have to let them in. I am a woman of extraordinary depth and aliveness. My desire is not a problem, it is my power. I deserve pleasure. I deserve tenderness. I deserve to be known. My body is wise. My body is beautiful. My body carries the evidence of a life fully lived. I am becoming more myself with every passing year, not less. The universe conspires for my wholeness. I am held. I am guided. I am loved by forces larger than I can see. My desire connects me to the deepest truth of creation. When I want, I participate in the wanting that has built galaxies. I release the story that I am too much or not enough or past my time. I release the story that desire is for other women. I open to the possibility that aliveness has been waiting for me to come back to it. I am grateful for this body, for this breath, for this night, for this particular silence, this particular darkness in which anything might be possible. I am enough. I have always been enough, and I am just beginning. Chapter 23. The Sleep Visualization. Close your eyes now, or let them rest where they have already fallen. Imagine yourself in a place of extraordinary beauty. It can be real, somewhere you have been and loved, or entirely imagined. Perhaps it is a garden at evening, the light going golden and long, the air warm and carrying the scent of something flowering. Perhaps it is a beach at the edge of the world, where the water is impossibly blue and the sand holds the warmth of the afternoon sun. Perhaps it is a forest at dusk, the trees enormous and ancient, the ground soft with years of fallen leaves. You are there. You are alone, not in the lonely way, but in the free way. Alone the way you are with yourself when there is no performance required. In this place you are simply a woman in a body. Your particular age, your particular history, your particular desires, and all of it, every year, every scar, every loss, every longing, all of it is welcome here. All of it belongs. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel it holding you, and the earth, dependable and patient, which has been holding women like you since the beginning. Breathe. And now feel something beginning to stir, not urgently, not dramatically, just a warmth, a glow, like a coal that has been banked for winter and is now, in the breath of your attention, beginning to remember that it was once fire. This warmth is yours. It has always been yours. It has not gone anywhere. It has simply been waiting, patient as the earth, steady as starlight, for you to remember it. Let it move through you now, this warmth, slowly. From the center of your body outward, into your belly, your chest, your hands, your face, into the quiet places, into the forgotten corners. You are alive. You are here. You are more than enough. Let this warmth carry you into sleep. Let it work in you through the night. Let your subconscious mind take what it has heard tonight and weave it into something new, a new story, a new possibility, a new relationship between you and the extraordinary, alive, desiring woman that you are. Tomorrow, you will wake up in the same life, and yet something will be different because you will remember, even if only a little, even if only for a moment before the day begins, you will remember who you are. A brief closing, until we meet again. You made it to the end of this night. Or perhaps you are still somewhere in the middle, drifting in and out of sleep, the words washing over you in the half-light of consciousness. Either way, you are exactly where you need to be. What you have received tonight is not a solution. Solutions are for problems, and you are not a problem. What you have received is a reminder that desire is not a luxury, it is your right. A reminder that your body is wise, even when it is inconvenient. A reminder that the part of marriage nobody posts about, the slow dimming, the distance, the silent yearning for something more, is not a sign of failure, but an invitation. An invitation to go deeper, to be more honest, to want more fiercely, to love more truthfully, yourself first, and then the people your life has given you. Margaret still lives in her house. She still argues with David about the thermostat. She still carries more than her share of the invisible load, but something is different. She has remembered that she is alive, and aliveness, once remembered, is remarkably difficult to forget. You are alive too, more alive than you have let yourself be, more desiring, more feeling, more powerful. The universe knows this. It has been waiting, patiently, cosmically, with the infinite patience of something that has existed since before time, for you to remember it too. Tonight, you have taken a step. That is enough. That is everything. Sleep now. Let the night do its work. Let your subconscious mind receive what it has been given and begin its quiet, transformative labor. When you wake, you will still be you. But you will also be the woman who listened, the woman who dared for 3 hours in the dark to take her own desire seriously. That woman is already different. That woman is already on her way back to herself. Good night. You are loved. You are wanted. You are enough.